Welcome to USA Update, your fastest and most trusted source for breaking news from. The Trump administration has introduced a sweeping new visa directive that could dramatically reshape how foreigners visit, study, work, or immigrate to the United States. This new guidance, delivered through a State Department cable to embassies and consulates worldwide, expands the long-standing public charge rule into one of the most restrictive immigration filters the United States has ever implemented. While the public charge concept has existed for decades, the revised framework significantly broadens what counts as a potential burden on the U.S. government, transforming the applicant review process from a relatively straightforward assessment into an intense, multi-layered scrutiny of a person's health, finances, age, background, skills, and even language ability. The new directive brings sweeping changes to the way visa applications are handled, affecting embassies and consulates across the globe and, honestly, impacting countless people who are hoping to enter the United States. Under this new system, consular officers are instructed to take a far more aggressive approach, actively looking for signs that an applicant might one day rely on public assistance. The revised policy means that applicants now face, heightened scrutiny of their health and financial status, making the process more challenging and, for many, a lot more uncertain. So, a major focal point of this directive is health. In the past, visa medical exams were mostly concerned with communicable diseases, required vaccinations, and, serious drug or alcohol-related issues. But now, the criteria have widened dramatically. Chronic illnesses such as diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, cardiovascular conditions, metabolic disorders, depression and anxiety are all being treated as potential red flags because of their long-term costs. Applicants with any of these conditions may face deeper questioning, additional medical documentation requirements, or, in some cases, outright visa denial. The administration argues that these diseases can lead to hundreds of thousands of dollars in potential medical expenses if an immigrant becomes dependent on public programs. The second major category of scrutiny is financial capability. Under the new directive, visa applicants may be asked to provide detailed evidence of bank balances, savings accounts, investments, retirement funds, and property assets. Consular officers are instructed to evaluate the applicant's financial status with a fine-toothed comb, assessing not only current resources but also projected needs once in the United States. These changes, honestly, have far-reaching consequences. They could reshape who is able to immigrate, favoring those who are healthier and wealthier, while making the process much tougher for others. Critics argue that this approach might undermine the nation's long-standing tradition of welcoming people from all walks of life, while supporters say it's necessary to protect public resources and ensure self-sufficiency. Either way, the impact of these new rules will be felt by families, communities, and the country as a whole for years to come. So, the concept of totality of circumstances, which was once used to evaluate applicants holistically and often in their favor, has now been reinterpreted as a possible basis for denial. Officers now have pretty wide discretion to judge whether someone appears likely to become a future burden, even if they have no history of using government benefits. Also, previous use of public assistance in any country now counts as a negative factor, making the process more unpredictable and, honestly, pretty uneven across different United States embassies. Experts are warning that these changes will, unfortunately, disproportionately harm older adults, low-income individuals, and applicants from countries where chronic health issues are widespread. For example, South Asian and Middle Eastern populations, where diabetes and hypertension are extremely common, may face higher denial rates. This also impacts United States citizens and legal residents who hope to bring family members to the United States. Applications for family-based immigration, spouses, parents, and children will now be subject to deeper financial and health scrutiny, putting a lot more pressure on families to meet new requirements like proving substantial financial stability, English proficiency, and medical self-sufficiency. Now, when it comes to students and workers, officers also have broader discretion. Even highly qualified applicants could face denials if they're seen as lacking financial resources, or if their health conditions are considered risky. It's a shift that makes the process less predictable for everyone, and honestly, it raises a lot of questions about fairness and consistency in how these rules are applied. The directive also hints at broad implications for students and skilled workers. International students may now face tougher scrutiny regarding their financial capacity and health, even if they receive scholarships or funding from universities. Skilled professionals, who previously qualified through employment offers or special skills, may now need to show substantial personal savings or assets. This shift could reduce the diversity of global talent entering United States universities and tech industries, potentially driving them toward more welcoming countries like Canada, Australia, or the United Kingdom. One of the most controversial aspects of the guidance is the enormous level of discretion given to consular officers. Immigration attorneys have voiced concern that officers can now deny visas based on subjective interpretation rather than objective documentation. Two applicants with similar profiles could receive completely different outcomes simply depending on which embassy reviews their case or how strictly an officer interprets the rules. This inconsistency increases fear and uncertainty among applicants and may lead to a rise in visa delays, administrative processing, and unpredictable denials. According to policy experts, the new approach shifts United States immigration from a presumption of eligibility to a presumption of risk, effectively flipping decades of established practice. For many families, the emotional and financial strain of these new rules will be significant. Applicants may need extensive medical reports, financial records, proof of insurance, affidavits of support, and documentation showing that every possible expense, current and future, can be handled without government help. Even minor issues such as unclear medical history or inconsistent bank statements could trigger denial. The Trump administration's broader immigration agenda provides context for this new directive. Since returning to office, President Donald Trump has renewed his focus on tightening immigration at every level, from restricting asylum claims to reducing refugee admissions and increasing enforcement measures. This new visa policy fits seamlessly within that agenda. Although the directive states that B2 tourist visas are not directly targeted, critics believe the messaging may still influence the mindset of consular officers, making them more cautious across all categories. This could indirectly affect tourism, short-term visits, and medical travel. The psychological effect of the policy, creating fear, uncertainty, and confusion, may lead applicants to postpone or cancel plans to visit the United States entirely, impacting global mobility and international relations. Ultimately, navigating the new visa landscape will require applicants to prepare far more thoroughly than ever before. Medical stability, strong financial documentation, clear proof of self-sufficiency, and detailed records of education and skills will be essential for success. Families hoping to reunite must now gather extensive sponsorship evidence and ensure that every possible financial need is accounted for. Applicants with chronic illnesses or mental health conditions must demonstrate that they have adequate private resources to manage their care without relying on public assistance. In conclusion, the Trump administration's updated visa directive represents one of the most significant shifts in United States immigration policy in recent decades. By dramatically expanding the factors used to evaluate visa applicants, the policy introduces uncertainty, complexity, and heightened barriers for millions of people worldwide. While proponents believe the changes protect American taxpayers, critics warn that the policy risks isolating the United States, weakening family reunification, and discouraging global talent. As this new system takes effect, applicants will need to adapt by preparing comprehensive documentation, understanding the heightened scrutiny, and presenting the clearest possible evidence of their ability to thrive independently in the United States. The long-term impact of these changes remains to be seen, but one thing is clear: United States immigration has entered a new era, one defined by intense evaluation, strict financial and health requirements, and far greater unpredictability for anyone seeking to step foot on American soil.